All right, we're going to look at homework 7-1, and we're going to look at 1 through 4. If you look, all we need to do here, we're not doing this out the long way, remember. All we're doing is we're saying, okay, we're going to multiply the two whole numbers together, and it's a mental math is 4 times 2 is 8. And then we're going to count, we have 1 0 here and 1 0 here. So that means we need 2 zeros in our answer. We could also look at it and say that I have 1, 2, and then I have 1, 2. So if we look again, it's the exact same thing. We look at our mental math here and we say, all right, we have 4 times 2 is once again 8. And then if we count our zeros, 1, 2, 3, in our answer, in our product, we also have to have 3 zeros. 1, 2, 3. Or we could say there's 2 zeros here and there's 1 0 here, so we need to have 3 zeros in our product. One more time, we have 4 times 2 is 8. Let's count our zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. So in our product, we have to have 1, 2, 3, 4. And of course, because this is a 5-digit number, we have to count over 3 and put in our comma. Last one, once again, same math fact, is 4 times 2 is 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Count over 3, and we have 800,000. So next, if we look at our word problems in 13 and 14, it says a tortoise walks 27 miles in a year. At this rate, how many miles would this tortoise walk in 10 years? So we could say that he walks 27 miles the first year, 27 miles the second year, 27 miles the third year, and so on. We know that repeated addition is the same thing as multiplication, so we're going to make it easier and say that's the same thing as saying 27 times 10. Now, using the trick that we've learned today, we know that we just need to take these two numbers here and multiply them. 27 times 1 is 27, and then we have 1 0 that we're going to add. So the tortoise can walk 270 miles. Now we look back to make sure that that makes sense. Let's see, he walks about 30 miles in a year, 30, 60. Okay, that sounds about right. Same thing here with the second problem about the same tortoise. It's now saying if he lives to be 100 years old, and it says already up here that he's walking 27 miles in a year, so we need to go back to that problem. Same thing again, we think to ourselves, okay, I'm going to go 27 in the first year, 27 in the second year. I could count all the way up to 100, which of course would take a very long time. So we're going to say that repeated addition is the same thing as multiplication. And we're going to say 27, but this time we're going to multiply it by 100 because it says he lives to be 100 years old. So now, same thing here, we multiply these two numbers together and we get 27, but this time we have 1, 2 zeros, so we had 1, 2 zeros here, and we have 2,700 miles. Number 15 says that every month Paulo earns $40 for walking his neighbor's dog after school. How much does he earn from this job in 1 year? So each month he earns $40. That's the first thing we need to know. It's asking us how much he makes in a year. Well, we know in January he makes $40. In February he makes $40. In March he makes $40. Once again, repeated addition is the same thing as multiplication. And instead we can take 40 and multiply it by 12 because there are 12 months in a year. Now, if we know our basic math facts of 12s, we have 12, 24, 36, 48. So we know that 4 times 12 is 48. And then we have that extra 0 to add on. So Paulo earns $480 in a whole year. So here if we look, it says there are 60 seconds in a minute and 60 minutes in an hour. How many seconds are there in an hour? So first we have to go and we have to say, okay, how many, we have to go from seconds to minutes and then from minutes to hours. So we have to say, well, if there's 60 seconds in 1 minute, and I know I have to get up to 60 minutes, I could once again say 60 plus 60 plus 60 plus 60 until I get up high enough. Or I can say 60 times 60. And here's where I'm going to take my 6 times 6 is 36. And then I count my zeros. I have 1, 2 zeros. So I have 1, 2 zeros. There are 3,600 seconds in an hour. Finally, we have that an elephant eats about 250 pounds of food each day. About how much food does an elephant eat in 1,000 days? So we're going to take the 250 pounds of food each day, and again, we could add it 1,000 times, but we're going to multiply it instead because it's easier. And then we're going to say 25 times 1 is 25, and then we count 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Add in our 0. An elephant eats 250,000 pounds of food in 1,000 days, which is 250,000 pounds of food. We're going to now jump way back with our factor puzzles that we learned a long time ago. We're thinking here, remember this is a multiplication table that's just shrunken down into a box. We have to think to ourselves, okay, what numbers go into both 10 and 5 besides 1? The only number that goes into both 10 and 5 is 5. So I know that this number is 5. Now, once I get my first number, everything else is pretty easy. Now you can put them on both parts going straight across. And now I say, what do I multiply by 5 to get to 10? And we know that we multiply 5 times 2. And if a 2 is there, it means a 2 is also here. And now just bit by bit, I do the same thing. I say, all right, what do I multiply 5 by to get to 5? And in that case, I have 1, and then I bring my 1 down here. And then I say 2 times what equals 24, and I have 12. And that means there's a 12 here. And then for this last box, I just multiply these two together. Oops. And I get 12. For the next one, we're going to say the exact same thing. We're going to say, okay, what number goes into both 8 and 12? Besides 1, 4 goes into both 8 and 12. So if I put a 4 here, I'm going to put a 4 here. And then I say, okay, what do I multiply 4 by to get 8? And 4 times 2 equals 8, which means I can bring a 2 down here. And then I say the same thing. 4 times what, but this time equals 12, and I know that that's 3. And now I can bring a 3 straight down. Now I'm looking at it a little bit differently. I'm going to say 3 times what equals 18, and I know that 3 times 6 equals 18, and I'll bring my 6 over here. And then I have 6 times 2 from that last box. I put these two together, equals 12, and now my factor puzzle is complete. Remember, if you don't want to, you don't have to have all of the boxes filled in. You can just have the ones that are around like this filled in, but sometimes it makes it easier to have them down here so you can see closer what your factors are. Number 7 reads, a box shaped like a rectangular prism is 6 inches long, 4 inches wide, and 2 inches tall. What is the volume of the box? Our formula for volume is V equals length times width times height. I don't know the volume, so that's going to stay a V. My length, it says it's 6 inches long, so my length is 6. My width is wide, is 4. And my 2 is tall. That is the height, how tall something is. Remember, order of operations, it doesn't matter with multiplication. I can do these two or these two first. I'm going to do these two first because it will make for an easier math fact. So I have 6 times 8, and my volume equals 48 inches cubed. For number 8, I have a picture that I've drawn off to the side to help you out a little bit. That's saying, okay, let's go. It says sandwiches are arranged on 3 trays. Each tray holds 4 sandwiches along the width, so there are 4 this way, and there are 5 sandwiches along the length. You know back from 3rd grade that this is a quick array. I can take those 2 numbers and I can say, oh, that means that I have 20 sandwiches on 1 tray. And I could draw out the sandwiches individually and count them, but that would take too long for us. If this is 1 tray, I could say, okay, I'm going to have 20 on 1 tray, which means I'm going to have 20 on the 2nd tray, which means I'm going to have 20 on the 3rd tray. And I could do it that way. Repeated addition is the same thing as multiplication. So I'm just going to make it simpler, and I'm going to say 20 times 3 because I have 3 trays. 2 times 3 equals 6, and I add 1 0, and I have 60, and I'm out of room. Sandwiches. Number 9 is exactly like number 7, where I'm looking for the, I'm looking for the volume, and we know that our volume is length times width times height. So I'm going to take 4 times 3 times 2, length, width, height, depth. And once again, I'm choosing to multiply these 2 numbers together because then I have another math fact. And then I'm going to have 24 meters cubed.